Captain Tahoe adjusted his midnight blue Earth Defense Force uniform as he stepped through the gleaming entrance of Stellar Prime dealership on Kepler Station. The polished floor reflected the soft glow of holographic starships rotating slowly above display. Pedestals beside him, Commander Park Jinna's boots clicked against the crystalline surface. Her own uniform bearing the silver wings of the EDF's elite pilot corps, the dealership sprawled across 3 levels, showcasing the galaxy's most luxurious spacecraft. Sleek interceptors with plasma drives hung suspended in gravity fields, their hulls gleaming like liquid mercury. Massive exploration vessels dominated the center floor, their observation decks offering panoramic views of the cosmos. Personal yachts with gold-trimmed hulls caught the artificial sunlight streaming through the station's transparent dome. Ho had saved for 3 years to afford one of these beauties. His promotion to captain came with a substantial bonus, and Gina's recent commendation for saving a colony ship from pirates had earned them both recognition and credits. They deserved this moment of luxury after years of defending humanity's outer colonies from raiders and hostile alien factions. The blue-skinned Vorthendila, Grix, lounged behind a hovering desk made of what looked like compressed stardust. His forearms moved lazily across multiple holographic displays showing sales figures and client profiles. When he noticed the 2 humans approaching, his serpentine neck barely lifted from his work. "We're looking for a personal cruiser," Tahoe said politely, his voice carrying the calm authority of someone who had commanded warships through asteroid fields and battle zones. Grix's yellow eyes flicked over them dismissively. His translator device rendered his hissing voice into mocking standard galactic. "These ships cost more credits than your people make in a lifetime. Try the used lot on level 7. He waved one of his low arms toward the exit, not bothering to look up from his holographic spreadsheets. Gina felt her jaw tighten. She had flown through the Centauri Nebula to rescue stranded miners, dodged plasma fire from Korgan battle cruisers, and earned medals for valor that most beings only dreamed of. Her rank insignia gleamed under the showroom lights, twin silver, stars marking her as one of the youngest commanders in EDF history. "Perhaps you didn't notice our service records," she began, stepping forward with the confident grace of someone who had walked the bridge of a dreadnought. "During combat, we're both decorated officers with substantial savings and excellent credit ratings." Grix finally looked up, his scaled face twisting into what might have been amusement. "Listen, humans. I don't care if you flew around shooting space rocks for your little Earth government. These vessels are for real buyers, wealthy beings who understand quality." He gestured at a nearby Altarian couple examining a yacht worth more than a small planet's annual budget. Not military types playing pretend. The dealership's other customers began to notice the commotion, a group of wealthy Centauri merchants whispered among themselves, their jeweled tentacles glittering as they pointed at the 2 humans. A massive Korgan industrialist turned from examining the luxury freighter, his forearms crossed in obvious disapproval of the scene. Tahoe felt the familiar calm that settled over him during combat situations. His voice remained steady, though his dark eyes hardened like vacuum-forged steel. "We have authorization codes for a credit line of 2 million galactic standard. Perhaps we could discuss specific models that might interest us." 2 million. Grix's laugh sounded like escaping steam. "The cheapest model here costs 5 million. That's before modifications. You humans always think you're so important because you won a few battles against raiders. This is the real galaxy, where actual wealth matters." Security drones began emerging from hidden alcoves round the showroom floor. The sleek, spider-like machines hovered silently, their scanner rays focusing on the 2 officers. Other customers stepped back, creating a clear circle round the confrontation. "Out." Now, Grix activated his security system with a dramatic flourish of all 4 arms. "Before I call station security, and have you rested for disturbing my legitimate customers?" Gina's hand instinctively moved toward her sidearm, but Taiho caught her wrist gently. Years of partnership had taught them to read each other's intentions. He shook his head almost imperceptibly. "We'll leave," Taiho said quietly, his voice carrying the kind of controlled anger that made enemy captains surrender without firing a shot. "Thank you for your time." The couple walked toward the exit with military precision, their heads held high despite the humiliation burning in their chests. Behind them, Grix was already turning back to his holographic displays, dismissing the incident as if it had never happened. But as they passed through the dealership's entrance, Taiho's jaw was set with the quiet determination that had carried him through the Battle of Proxima Station. His father had always taught him that dignity was more valuable than pride, but justice was worth fighting for. The automatic door sealed behind them with a soft hiss. But this wasn't the end of their story. It was just the beginning. The private quarters aboard Kepler Station hummed with the gentle vibration of the massive rotating habitat. Taiho loosened his uniform collar as he settled into the communication chair, while Gina paced near the viewport overlooking the endless star field. Their modest military housing felt cramped after the vast showroom they had just been thrown out of, but it was home. Taiho activated the quantum communication ray, its crystalline components glowing as they established a connection across the light years to Earth. The holographic projector flickered to life, casting a blue-tinged image of his father's office on the other side of the galaxy. Through the transmission delay, he could see the familiar mahogany desk, the wall of awards, and the massive window overlooking the Seoul skyline where Stellar Dynamics Corporation's headquarters peak. At the clouds, Kim Dae-sung materialized in perfect detail, his silver hair neatly combed and his expensive suit bearing the subtle insignia of the galaxy's most powerful starship manufacturer, even through the holographic display. His presence filled the small quarters with quiet authority. Behind him, the Earth's blue atmosphere glowed through reinforced windows, and the construction yards of humanity's greatest shipbuilding facility stretched toward the horizon. "Son, you look troubled," Dae-sung observed, his weathered face creasing with concern. Years of building an interstellar empire had taught him to read people instantly, and the tension in his son's shoulders spoke volumes. Taiho took a deep breath, his military training warring with the anger still burning in his chest. "Father, we had an incident today at one of the luxury dealerships here on Kepler Station," as Taiho recounted the humiliation at Stellar Prime dealership. His father's expression slowly transformed, the warm concern in Dae-sung's eyes gradually cooled to something far more dangerous. His fingers drummed silently against his desk, a habit Taiho recognized from childhood whenever his father was calculating business strategies that would reshape the entire sectors of the galactic economy. "This Vorthen dealer, Grix," Dae-sung said quietly, his voice carrying the kind of calm that preceded corporate earthquakes. "He threw out a decorated Earth Defense Force captain and commander because of their species." Gina stepped into the hologram's range, her commander's insignia catching the blue light. "Sir, we weren't asking for special treatment. We had legitimate credit authorization and military commendations. We just wanted to buy a ship." Dae-sung's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. He had built Stellar Dynamics from a small Seoul-based manufacturer into the galaxy's dominant shipbuilder through 3 decades of calculated moves and strategic partnerships. Every major dealership, from the core worlds to the outer rim, carried his vessels. His ships defended human colonies, transported alien dignitaries, and served as luxury yachts for the galaxy's wealthiest beings. Grix's dealership moves 60% of our luxury fleet, Dae-sung said quietly, his words measured like the countdown to a weapons launch. "That ends tomorrow." The holographic connection carried the subtle sounds of Earth's atmosphere, the distant hum of aerial traffic, and the soft chime of incoming messages on Daesung's personal communicator. But in that moment, the silence stretched like the void between stars. Taiho leaned forward in his chair. "Father, you don't need to. I need to do exactly this," Daesung interrupted, his voice carrying the steel that had built an interstellar empire. "No one treats my family with such disrespect. More importantly, no one discriminates against humans in my supply chain." The elder Kim reached for his personal communicator, a device that could connect him instantly to corporate executives, government officials, and military commanders across human space. His fingers moved with practiced efficiency across the holographic interface, accessing files that contained the business relationships of thousands of dealerships throughout the galaxy. "Stellar Prime Dealership," he murmured, reading from data streams that flickered across his desk. "Annual sales of 800 million credits. Exclusive luxury certification. Premium location lease on Kepler Station." His expression grew colder with each detail. "Contract renewal due next month." Daesung terminated the call with his son and immediately activated his executive communication system. Within seconds, holographic figures began appearing round his office: lawyers, executives, supply chain managers, and public relations specialists. The machinery of corporate power was awakening across human space. "Ladies and gentlemen," Daesung addressed his emergency council, "we have a situation that requires immediate action. One of our premium dealers has engaged in species-based discrimination against human customers, specifically against my son and daughter-in-law, both decorated military officers." The reaction was immediate. Legal advisors began accessing discrimination clauses in dealer contracts. Supply chain managers pulled up delivery schedules to Stellar Prime Dealership. Public relations teams started drafting statements about Stellar Dynamics' commitment to equality across all species. But Daesung had already made his decision. Tomorrow would bring consequences that would ripple across the galaxy's luxury starship market. The war for dignity had begun. The morning sun of Kepler Station's artificial day cycle cast long shadows across the docking bay. As three sleek corporate shuttles descended through the atmospheric barrier, their hulls bore the distinctive silver and blue logo of Stellar Dynamics Corporation, a stylized galaxy with Earth at its center. The lead shuttle was a masterpiece of human engineering, its quantum drives humming with barely contained power as it settled onto the landing platform with mechanical precision. Station personnel stopped their morning routines to watch the unusual convoy. Corporate visits of this magnitude were rare events, especially three shuttles arriving simultaneously. The vessels themselves were worth more than most beings earned in a lifetime, their polished surfaces reflecting the artificial sunlight like liquid mercury. Kim Daesung stepped from the lead shuttle with the confident stride of someone who owned half the galaxy's starship production facilities. His tailored suit was simple but expensive, cut from fabric that cost more than most starships. Behind him emerged a small army of executives, lawyers, and financial advisors, 20 of the most powerful people in human corporate space. The legal team carried portable holographic displays showing contracts, financial records, and regulatory documents. The executives moved with military precision, their neural implants already connecting to the station's data networks to gather real-time market information. Financial advisors activated quantum calculators capable of processing trillion credit transactions in microseconds. Word of the arrival spread through the station's communication networks faster than light-speed transmissions. Alien merchants in the trade sectors whispered about the unexpected corporate invasion. Station security increased patrols around the luxury district. Unsure what to expect from such an unprecedented gathering of human corporate power. At Stellar Prime Dealership, Grix was reviewing his daily sales reports when his security system chimed with an incoming group detection. The holographic display showed the approaching corporate entourage, and his Ferrams nearly dropped his morning nutrition drink. The identification scanners were flashing priority alerts. Kim Dae-sung himself was walking toward his dealership. The Vorthen dealer's scaled skin shifted from blue to pale green with panic and excitement. Stellar Dynamics was his most important supplier, providing the luxury vessels that generated 90% of his annual profits. A personal visit from the company's CEO was either the greatest opportunity of his career. Sign of impending disaster. Grix activated every customer service protocol in his arsenal. His showroom's lighting shifted to the most flattering spectrum for human vision. Background music changed to subtle Earth classical compositions. Service drones emerged from hidden alcoves, their polished surfaces gleaming as they prepared to attend to the distinguished visitors. The dealership's other customers, wealthy Centauri merchants, Korgan industrialists, and Altarian nobles, paused their browsing to observe the spectacle. Some recognized the corporate logo and stepped back respectfully. Understanding they were witnessing galactic-level business in motion, Kim Dae-sung entered the showroom like a force of nature. His presence seemed to command the very air around him, and the artificial gravity felt heavier in his wake. The 20-person entourage spread throughout the facility with practiced efficiency, their neural implants already cataloging every ship, every price tag, and every contractual detail. Grix rushed forward with all the enthusiasm his reptilian physiology could master. His translator device worked overtime to convert his excited hissing into respectful standard galactic. Mr. Kim, what a tremendous honor. What brings the great CEO of Stellar Dynamics to my humble establishment? The other customers watched in fascination as the galaxy's most powerful starship manufacturer surveyed the inventory with calculating eyes. Every vessel in the showroom was a Stellar Dynamics creation, from the sleek racing interceptors to the massive luxury yachts that served as floating palaces for the ultra-wealthy. Dae-sung walked slowly between the displayed ships, his experienced gaze assessing each vessel's condition and market value. His executives followed at a respectful distance, their portable computers already calculating total inventory worth, profit margins, and liquidation values. Beautiful collection, Dae-sung said quietly, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had personally overseen the construction of thousands of similar vessels. These represent some of our finest work. Grix practically vibrated with excitement, his forearms gesturing wildly at the assembled spacecraft. Only the best for discriminating customers. Each ship is a masterpiece of engineering and luxury. I maintain the highest standards in the galaxy. The irony was lost on the Vorthen dealer. Less than 24 hours earlier, he had dismissed decorated human officers as unworthy of even examining these same vessels. Dae-sung stopped in the center of the showroom, surrounded by ships worth hundreds of millions of credits. His executives formed a loose circle round him, their faces professionally neutral despite the anticipation crackling in the air. I want to buy everything, Dae-sung said simply, his words falling into the showroom like a quantum bomb. Your entire inventory. Every ship on this lot. Grix's yellow eyes widened until they seemed ready to pop from his scaled skull. His translator device struggled to keep up with his rapid-fire hissing as excitement overwhelmed his vocal cords. Of course, absolutely. This will be the sale of the century. Grix's forearms waved frantically as he activated every sales computer in the facility, the largest single purchase in galactic dealership history. The magnitude of the transaction sent shockwaves through the station's financial networks. Computer systems throughout Kepler Station registered the incoming credit authorizations, and trading algorithms across human space began adjusting starship market predictions. But Kim Dae-sung's expression remained perfectly calm, as if purchasing an Entire luxury dealership was merely another Tuesday morning business decision. His executives began the complex process of calculating the total transaction value, while his lawyers prepared documentation for the largest Starship sale in recorded history. Grix had no idea he was about to become part of galactic legend. The dealership's main conference room buzzed with activity as Grix's staff prepared the most massive sales contract in galactic history. Holographic displays showed endless rows of numbers, each representing millions of credits. Legal drones hovered overhead, their scanners documenting every detail of the transaction for the station's commercial records. Grix couldn't contain his excitement as he watched his annual sales targets being shattered in a single morning. His forearms moved frantically across multiple input devices, calculating commissions that would make him wealthy beyond his wildest dreams. The Vorthan-scaled skin had shifted to a bright golden hue, the color his species displayed. During moments of extreme joy around the conference table, Daesung's executives worked with quiet efficiency. Their neural implants connected directly to Stellar Dynamics' financial networks, authorizing credit transfers that could fund entire planetary colonies. The lawyers reviewed ownership documents with the precision of surgeons, their holographic briefcases containing enough legal firepower to restructure entire corporate empires. Other customers in the showroom pressed against the conference room's transparent walls, watching history unfold. Word had spread throughout Kepler Station about the unprecedented purchase. News drones from various galactic media outlets began arriving, their cameras capturing footage of what would become the biggest business story of the year. Gina watched the display with growing amazement. She had known Taiho's father was successful, but seeing the scope of Stellar Dynamics' influence was overwhelming. Every major starship in the galaxy seemed to carry their manufacturing signature. Daesung sat calmly at the head of the table, his expression unreadable as contracts materialized in the air before him. His fingers drummed silently against the polished surface, the only sign of the calculation occurring behind his steady gaze. 20 years of building an interstellar empire had taught him patience, but today patience served a different purpose. The total comes to 473 million galactic standard credits, Grix announced breathlessly, his translator device struggling with his rapid speech, plus taxes, registration fees, and transfer documentation, the largest single dealership transaction in recorded galactic commerce. Station security had cordoned off the entire luxury district as crowds gathered to witness the spectacle. Alien dignitaries, corporate representatives, and curious citizens filled the viewing areas. Some were taking holographic recordings to share across their home worlds. The day a human CEO bought an entire Starship dealership would become legendary. The final contract pages materialized in holographic form. Daesung leaned back in his chair and spoke with casual curiosity. Before we finalize this historic transaction, I'm curious about something. Do you remember two customers from yesterday, an Earth Defense Force captain and commander? The question cut through the excitement like a plasma blade through hull plating. Grix's golden skin flickered uncertainly, shifting toward a more cautious blue-green. His forearms slowed their frantic movement as his brain processed the unexpected inquiry. Yes, Grix replied carefully, his translator rendering his nervous hissing into hesitant words. To military personnel, they were interested in our inventory. Daesung's executives exchanged subtle glances. Several began accessing their portable displays, pulling up security footage and incident reports from the previous day. The lawyers leaned forward slightly, recognizing the shift in their CEO's tone. Interested. You say? Daesung's voice remained conversational, but something dangerous flickered in his dark eyes. That's an interesting way to describe it, my. Information suggests they were looking to purchase a personal cruiser. Grix's skin color shifted again. this time toward the pale gray his species displayed during stress. His forearms began unconscious defensive gestures, crossing over his torso as prey animals do when sensing predators. Well, yes, they mentioned purchasing, Grix admitted reluctantly. But they weren't serious buyers. Military types rarely have the financial resources for our premium inventory. I simply directed them to more appropriate options. The conference room fell silent except for the soft humming of holographic displays and the distant sounds of the gathering crowd outside. Daesung's executives had stopped their work, recognizing the moment when their CEO transitioned from businessman to something far more formidable. "The captain was my son," Daesung said quietly, his words falling into the silence like asteroids, into a gravity well. The color drained completely from Grix's face, leaving his scaled skin a sickly translucent white. His forearms trembled as the full magnitude of his mistake crashed over him like a collapsing star. The wealthiest human in the galaxy. The man who controlled the production of every luxury starship in his showroom. Was the father of the officer he had humiliated less than 24 hours earlier. "Your son," Grix whispered, his translator barely picking up the strangled hiss. "The captain was your..." Daesung stood slowly, his movement causing every person in the room to unconsciously step back. His presence filled the space like the gravity field of a neutron star, inescapable and overwhelming. "Let me clarify something for you, Grix," Daesung continued, his voice carrying the cold precision of deep space. "I'm not buying your ships, I'm buying your dealership, the building, the licenses, the contracts, the brand name, everything." The Vorthan dealer's legs gave out, forcing him to grab the conference table for support. His dream sale was transforming into his worst nightmare in real time. "Your exclusive dealer contracts with Stellar Dynamics are now void due to discriminatory practices against human customers," Daesung announced, his words carrying the finality of a legal judgment. "Specifically, for refusing service to qualified buyers based solely on their species." The lawyers activated their holographic displays, showing discrimination clauses that had been buried in the original dealer agreements. Standard corporate protections that nobody expected to be enforced were suddenly becoming the foundation for the complete destruction of Grix's business empire. "You're fired," Daesung concluded simply. The most expensive termination in galactic history had just occurred in less than 60 seconds. 6 months had transformed Kepler Station's luxury district beyond recognition, where Stellar Prime dealership once stood with its cold and welcoming atmosphere. A magnificent new facility gleamed under the artificial sunlight. The holographic sign floating above the entrance read Parkley Starship Center in elegant Korean and standard galactic script, honoring the service records of Captain Lee Taiho and Commander Park Jin-ah. The renovated dealership sprawled across 4 levels instead of the original 3. Its transparent aluminum walls offering breathtaking views of the surrounding nebula. Gardens of earth flowers bloomed in atmospheric processes throughout the facility, their sweet fragrance mixing with the clean scent of new starships. Customers from dozens of species moved freely through the showrooms, examining vessels that ranged from simple personal transports to luxury yachts worth planetary budgets. Captain Song Min-ho stood behind the main reception desk, his weathered face bearing the calm confidence of someone who had commanded warships through 3 major conflicts. His prosthetic left arm, lost during the Battle of Centauri Prime, moved with mechanical precision as he reviewed the day's sales reports. The cybernetic limb bore decorative engravings depicting famous Earth Defense Force victories, turning a war wound into a badge of honor. "Welcome to Parkley Starship Center," Min-ho greeted a nervous young Altarian couple approaching the reception area. His voice carried the warmth that had made him legendary among his former crew members. "I'm Captain Song. How can we help you find the perfect vessel today?" The Altarian's crystalline skin shifted to pale blue with anxiety. Their species had heard horror stories about discrimination at other dealerships throughout the galaxy. The female clutched her partner's arm with 3 delicate fingers, her large eyes darting round the showroom, as if expecting rejection. "We're looking for our first starship," she whispered through her translation device. "Something small for exploring the Outer Rim systems, but we don't have much experience with human dealers." Minho smiled and activated a holographic display, showing entry-level cruisers designed for young explorers. Experience doesn't matter here. Everyone was new to starship ownership once. Let's find something that matches your dreams and your budget. The transformation hadn't been easy. Daesung had invested over 2 billion credits in completely rebuilding the facility from the quantum processors up. The new dealership featured adaptive atmosphere zones for a different species, universal translation systems, and cultural advisors. From 12 different civilizations, every employee underwent extensive sensitivity training, learning to serve customers regardless of their species, home world, or financial status. Above the main showroom, massive viewports displayed the construction yards where Stellar Dynamics built their newest vessels. Automated assembly drones worked alongside alien artisans, their combined efforts producing starships that blended human engineering with artistic touches from across the galaxy. The site served as a powerful reminder that cooperation created beauty impossible for any single species to achieve alone. News feeds from across human space continued broadcasting updates about the Kepler Station incident, as historians had begun calling it. The story had spread through every human colony, from the core worlds to the furthest frontier settlements. Bar patrons on distant mining stations raised toasts to the corporate executive who had defended his family's honor. Military academies added the incident to their leadership curriculum, teaching future officers that dignity was worth defending at any cost. In the dealership's premium section, a group of wealthy Korgan industrialists examined a luxury yacht with obvious interest. Their massive frames required specially reinforced seating. Their forearms allowed them to operate complex control systems that would challenge most humanoid species. The sales representative, a former EDF communications officer named Lieutenant Park So-young, explained the vessel's capabilities with patient expertise. "The quantum drive can achieve 15 light-years per hour," she explained, her cybernetic eye displaying technical specifications directly to the Korgan's visual cortex. "Perfect for business travel between industrial systems. The cargo bay can be configured for either luxury amenities or light freight, depending on your needs." The lead Korgan's translator rendered his rumbling voice into a new standard galactic. "Most human dealers assume we only want warships or cargo haulers. You're the first to show us something elegant." "Elegance isn't species-specific," So-young replied with a smile. "Beauty belongs to everyone who can appreciate it." Far above the station, a sleek personal cruiser dropped out of quantum drive and began its approach to the civilian docking ports. The vessel's hull bore the distinctive markings of Earth Defense Force officers on leave, its polished surface reflecting the colors of the surrounding nebula like captured starlight. Captain Litayo adjusted the ship's attitude with gentle touches on the control surface, his years of piloting warships making the maneuver look effortless. Beside him, Commander Park Jin-oh monitored the approach sensors while reviewing star charts for their next destination, a vacation cruise through the scenic systems of the Andromeda Spiral. "There it is," Jin-oh said softly, pointing through the viewport at their family's dealership. The Parkley Starship Center gleamed like a jewel against the station's dark hull, its multiple levels bustling with customers from across the galaxy. They watched as a young human family emerged from the showroom, their children pressing their faces against the transparent walls of their new exploration vessel. An elderly Centauri merchant shook hands with one of the sales representatives, his tentacles glowing with satisfaction after completing a successful purchase. Service drones moved between the displayed ships, their polished surfaces reflecting. The diverse crowd of potential customers. Father would be proud, Tayo murmured, his voice thick with emotion. The story had indeed spread throughout human space, carried by merchants, diplomats, and travelers to every corner of humanity's expanding frontier. Touch one human with injustice and face the entire species' response. It wasn't a threat. It was a promise that human dignity was non-negotiable. Whether in the depths of space or the heart of civilization, their cruiser completed its flyby and disappeared into quantum drive, carrying two decorated officers toward their well-earned vacation behind them. Harkley Starship Center continued its mission of serving every customer with equal respect, proving that justice served cold could create something warm enough to light up the galaxy. The end.